Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for joining tonight, all of our viewers at home, in addition to the members that are here. Sorry for the delay and the link confusion, but we are now up and ready. It is, what is today? March 11, 1 week to crossover, and we've got a full agenda tonight for the next 40 minutes. Let's start with HB 1070. We have a couple of bills that we're just going to talk about. We're not going to vote on, but we're just going to talk about them. So I am going to share my screen.
Okay.
And hold on, let me find the right bill. Here we go. And we are going to, what? Sorry. That's not what I wanted to share. Stop sharing. Sorry, let me get the right
Stream it now.
screen. There we go. Okay, can everybody see 1070?
I cannot get this to live stream.
Gretchen, are we not live streaming? Because I can hear you.
I can't get it
Yes, we are.
live stream. It keeps, it just won't go to it.
Yes, we are.
Let me
It
keep
says-
trying. Well, it does say got it. It's not showing it on my. Okay.
All right, keep trying. Because it says on my end we are. Okay, so let me go back up. HB 1070, if you all remember, is the Maryland Toll Rate Reform Act. And the sponsor has met with MDTA and they've come up with some amendments. They're continuing to talk. All right, Gretchen, I'm sending you where Delegate Jacobs would like the link sent, please.
Sure.
So you can see on the screen, all of this language has been stricken. And we are now here. So Patrick, do you want to talk about what the amendments have done?
Well, the amend under, I can't even read the numbers. 3215, I believe it is, was
Where?
really kind of irrelevant to the types of projects we were talking about here.
Right, so that's all that what was stricken.
Right, and then you go further, the amendments, we take out the language for the optimal toll rates and near optimal toll rates, allowing MDTA to kind of find their way as to what would be the best way to do this. And then we want to set it at a level that generates at least 50 million annually. That would go to the Transportation Trust Fund through a process that would, be okay according to the trust agreements. That's kind of what we're still working on. And then the amounts, the increased amounts are indexed for inflation as well. So.
Okay. Okay, so here's the heart of it. There's the transportation facilities overage account in the Transportation Trust Fund. And that here, the authority, so MTA, shall fix, revise, charge, and collect fees, tolls, and other charges at a level that generates revenue in amount that exceeds the amount required under subsection B of this section by at least 50 million. And then the next paragraph says that they may distribute revenue collected above the amounts required under subsection B to the overage account. The next paragraph says, subject to subsection 2, for fiscal 2026, the authority shall establish toll rates that are estimated to generate at least 50 million in revenue that is available to be distributed under what we just talked about, the overage account. And then 2027 and thereafter, they'll be increased by 3% over the amount required for the previous fiscal year.
And that's correct. I believe I said index to inflation. It's 3%.
Yes, Delegate Morgan.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my first question. Patrick, what is an overage account something new?
Yes.
Could you explain to me what, in my linear mind, when I see MDOT and MTA is responsible for the toll roads, and all monies in the past that have been collected go to MTA to support toll roads per se. MDOT, on the other hand, they're on their own. So what is this? What is being created, and how will this overage account work?
That's the heart of the matter.
We're going to get money from tolls.
That's the heart of the matter. The essence is that the MDTA is required to set tolls at an amount to meet their obligations.
Which is to pay their bills?
To pay their bills. And this bill is authorizing them to go over that and send the overage to the overage account under the Transportation Trust Fund. They are still obligated to meet their obligations.
Okay, so are they, at the present time, are the tolls covering the costs of all the toll roads we have in Maryland?
Yeah, they're required to, yes. And I'm sure they are.
Okay, so when we pay, I forget what Hogan did for the Bay Bridge. We did something to, you go over for a lot cheaper price or something. But you're saying right now MDTA is covering their costs. We're going to raise fees on the toll roads, and after they meet their costs, that money goes to Transportation Trust Fund.
That's the idea.
Where's the
yes.
50 million get into it?
Well, they're supposed to set the toll rates to meet that extra $50 million.
So are they have to do some sort of, I agree with the chairman that, coming from out of state and driving around and things like that, Maryland tolls are incredibly low per se. However, when I look at some of the manipulations for let me say that if somebody lives on the eastern, I haven't read the amendment enough to be smart yet, and I probably won't get smart. But if I read the amendment, you're going to have a person who lives on the Eastern Shore commuting into Annapolis every day to work or somewhere in DC, etc. So will they be able to get a reduced rate because they're a state resident? And similarly, if you have somebody who lives in Maryland and drives to Dahlgren in Virginia over the new nice Middleton Bridge, will they receive an in-state discount for purposes of work, for lack of a better word? That's part A.
Well, to answer your question, or at least to preliminarily state that I don't think it would be constitutional to give an in-state discount, but I think we can give, and I think that they would be authorized to give a discount to a Maryland Easy Pass, which can be purchased by out-of-staters.
Okay. Interesting. Because if I drive to New York, I know that if you live in Staten Island and you're going to the city, huge discount. If you're going to cross the Verrazano, in-state, out-of-state, huge discount. I'm talking $7 or $8 per car going over.
I would bet you that you could get that discount if you had a New York Easy Pass.
I don't know. I don't know. It's
I don't
so
have
weird.
that knowledge, but
I don't know either. I mean, that's peculiar to up there. I just know it cost me $37 in tolls to go to New York.
So one thing, if I may just jump in right here,
Please,
Delegate
I'm sorry.
Morgan,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
asked if MDTA was meeting its bills or able to pay its bills based on the tolls right now.
Yeah.
As of 2027, they will not be able to. At the current rate, they will not be able to pay their bills.
So you'll have a double whammy. They're going to have to find a way to increase the tolls to A, meet their obligations, and then B, find a way to increase the tolls, not only meet their obligations, to come up with the $50 million to go to the trust fund.
So that's what we're trying to deal with right now.
Okay.
Is we've got to figure out how they're going to pay their bills come 2027. And how we can raise money for the Transportation Trust Fund.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just thinking while we
Yep.
talk.
Yep. That's what this is for, to think through it. Yes, Delegate Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When people use toll roads, do they also tend to, before they enter the toll road, use other roads? Or maybe after they exit the toll roads, do they use other non-toll roads?
Yes, given where our toll roads are.
Yeah.
Which I think you
I'm
know
kidding.
the answer to.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm making the point that I think the rationale, I think, of pouring some toll revenue over into the Transportation Trust Fund, I think makes logical sense, because no Maryland driver exits their house directly onto a toll road and then somehow gets from a toll road directly to where they're going, be it a store or their workplace or whatever. They are causing wear and tear on the rest of our roads as well when they're making those trips. And given the poor state, as we talked about now a few times, state of our Transportation Trust Fund, I think this bill makes sense to me.
Thank you. Other comments? Okay. Chatty group tonight.
I have
All
a
right.
question for Patrick. I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to be clear. I think I heard you say that these amendments come from the transit authority, the transportation authority, the tolling authority. And this helps make sure that we don't violate any of our agreements with the people that we're depending on, because they have special agreements to spend their money in a certain way.
well, let me be really clear. We're currently working with the Transportation Authority to get to where you're describing.
Okay.
Absolutely, we cannot violate the trust agreements. That is not going to happen.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear, because that was a stumbling block in the past when we wanted to do anything with that, is that they would always say that there was these trust agreements that would make it difficult, if not impossible. So I'm glad that they're working with us to figure out how to do this. It's an important thing to do.
Thank you. Okay. Any further discussion on 1070 and the need to raise tolls and what we're looking at trying to accomplish here? All right. The next thing that we'll do is we'll jump over to HB 774, Delegate Hornberger, a fee bill. And if you give me a minute, I will also bring that one up. Here we go. Can you all see that? Everybody see that? Yes, no, anyone? Okay, thank you. And there are some amendments that have been made. Patrick, you want to walk us through what was done here?
Yeah, I think I think you're going to the right place, Gretchen.
Nope, that's me.
You're all doing a good job. Okay, this amendment to this bill would set an EV surcharge on an annual registration before September 30th, 2025 for the next year. 125 for each zero emission electric vehicle or fuel cell electric vehicle. Those use no gas and pay no gas tax. 112.50 for each plug-in electric drive hybrid vehicle. They do use some gas. They tend to get very good mileage. And then $100 for each hybrid vehicle that does not have plug-in charging capability.
Okay, so zero emission plug-in electric
And for
drive
the record,
vehicle.
those are indexed to inflation.
Okay, so this is, one is my Tesla. Two, I don't have a plug-in electric, and three is for my hybrid Prius. Now that you all know, and everybody who's listening knows the cars that I have. Correct? The installment may be paid over time. Delegate Jacobs.
All right,
So-
so let me ask this question. We had the commission out there that's been studying the new formula basically for the Transportation Trust Fund. And I know that part of the conversation was change in the registration fee on EVs. So how does that work itself into this piece of legislation?
Patrick,
That
you want
was-
to take that?
Yeah, that was definitely part of the discussion. They didn't have a specific recommendation on that, I don't think. But I think it's well within the, I mean, obviously it's within the General Assembly's purview, but I think that was contemplated that the General Assembly may consider this. And
So
certainly
we-
there were elements pushing for this and elements pushing back.
So you got a couple bills in with similar objectives with these fees on EVs, but my understanding was with the I'm gonna call it the Blue Ribbon Commission. I don't know if that's the right name, but I thought they were talking around $400 for these EV registrations every 2 years. So that's the reason why I'm asking this question. You know, why is
remember a
this, why is
specific
this
number.
the number that's settled on? Is this the number that group brought forward, or is this just a number that Delegate Hornberger came up with?
Well,
The Delegate
this is not
Hornberger.
Delegate.
Sorry, Patrick, go ahead.
Delegate Hornberger had a certificate of title surcharge, I believe. And I'm trying to remember, I don't think there was a specific number that came out of the Train Commission. Hornberger's had,
Yeah, certificate of title for a zero emission plug-in at 200.
the 200, which doubled it. And of
Right.
course, certificate of titles are one-time fees.
Well, this says the owner of the motor vehicle shall pay an annual surcharge. So this would be an annual surcharge for 125 for one of Sarah's cars and 112 for the other one and 100 for the third one. And so that would take the place of what that commission has been working on. That's what I'm trying to get at. This is an
This is in the
annual
spirit of
fee.
that. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Morgan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, I think the testimony we heard on Friday was enlightening, to say the least, as to where this whole EV market may be going and repercussions if we don't meet it, etc. So my first statement will be, I don't want to be part of this bill, because what I really think we should be talking about is HB 913, which is next on the list. Now we can light up and do numbers and discuss, because like I said, when I saw this bill initially, I said, okay, fine, that was early on in the game, and then more bills come forward and we have chances to discuss them and see what goes on. But this bill is nothing compared to 913 or related to that, the discussion that took place with the auto dealers on Friday afternoon. So I don't know how you get your name off the bill or how you move forward. So someone's gonna have to teach me, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you. Delegate Haley.
Hang on. Okay, I just wanted to, I'm not sure that it's an either or question. I don't know that we're doing one bill instead of the other. I think we're going to be talking about taking elements from both of them, maybe. I'm going to wait for the discussion on the other bill before I, weigh in on which way to go on all of this, because I think there's a lot of moving parts in this discussion about how we're going to fund the Transportation Trust Fund. And I'm open to all suggestions at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I drive, I drive a regular EV, so I'm going to be hit 125. My wife drives a plug-in EV, so she's going to be hit 112. So this is a $237.50 increase to my household per year that I am absolutely supportive of. So I think we should absolutely promote EV adoption. It's the way of the future. We should move there sooner rather than later so that we're reducing greenhouse gas emissions. But at the same time, we can't let EV drivers not pay their fair share into the Transportation Trust Fund, given its terrible status right now. And I think these fees are, I think, eminently reasonable. I know that the average driver in Maryland, the average car in Maryland produces about $250 in gas tax revenue for the state every year. So even with these modest fees, it's going to be a saver for per vehicle of about half, maybe even a little bit more than half, driving an EV versus not. So I think these rates are calibrated very well to continue the incentive of driving an EV, which, by the way, for me is honestly mostly about time. It's very sweet not to have to go to gas stations. By the way, if you don't have an EV yet, that perk is awesome. But beyond that, there still will be a financial incentive even with these fees. So I think that they're low enough that we're not going to hurt our EV adoption rates and our goals there. But I think clearly they're high enough to generate at least some revenue. And I think every little bit helps, given the condition that the Transportation Trust Fund is now under. And I think it just doesn't make sense that EV drivers can just basically skate by despite adding wear and tear, just like any other gas-fired vehicle.
Thank you, Delegate Stewart. Anybody else?
Can I just clarify something?
Yeah.
Delegate Jacobs asked about if this came out of Train. I believe this was a recommendation of the Train Commission at some level. I don't think they had specifics, but
yeah, it was the first recommendation, I think, actually, Patrick. It was the #1 recommendation of Train. A number of other states have it, I know, and I don't have the list off the top of my head. There's a bunch that have something similar to this. And while I would say most of them are red states, they're not all red states. I think like Oregon and Washington and a few others are in there as well.
Yeah. And I'll just say that as an EV driver, I agree that I should be paying into the Transportation Trust Fund because I use the roads and my car is heavier. So it does added wear and tear on the roads. So I should be paying into the Transportation Trust Fund. Yes, Delegate Jacobs.
So this, when you say that this was a recommendation from the commission, were these numbers the recommendation for the commission, or is this a number that Delegate Hornberger came up with?
No, I don't believe the commission had a number, just a concept.
Yeah, I know they had a concept, but this is not the number that I heard. That's the reason why I'm asking this question. I think it's way too low. That's my personal opinion.
Thank you. Delegate Stewart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, just to answer Delegate Jacobs' question, I have the Train Commission report up. I'm not seeing any numbers attached. He could be right if he heard 400 or whatever, I generally would trust Delegate Jacobs with my life. But here it says, and I quote, recommendation number 1, in response to the urgency of the need to find revenue for the fiscal 2025 budget, the commission recommends the General Assembly consider in the 2024 legislative session options to collect additional revenue to help account for the loss of revenue to the TTF from the increased adoption of EVs and/or plug-in hybrid vehicles. These options could include adding a new registration fee for electric and/or plug-in hybrid vehicles, or increasing registration fees for all drivers, period. I'm not, unless this is a 40-page report, so maybe if I like go down to the appendices, they recommend a number. So I'm not saying that Delegate Jacobs is like wrong or crazy, but at least in the frontline recommendations, there was no number associated with it.
Well, Delegate Stewart, I agree 100% in what you just read. But during those conversations, there were numbers floated around. Now, whether they offered one, I didn't know for sure, but I know they discussed that specifically. And that's the reason why I'm asking this question, because to me, from what I understood in the discussions, the number was much higher than this. That's all I'm going to say.
We can look into that. Thank you. Delegate Guyton.
Thank you so much. I think that we all know something like this is coming, and I don't have my EVs yet, but I will. So I'm happy to pay my fair share into the trust fund. My question really had to do with whether or not in the final bill, is this fee going to be indexed to inflation the way that gas tax is? Or will we have to come back and change it every so often?
In this amendment language, it is indexed to inflation.
It is. Okay, thank you.
Right. Any further discussion on HB 774? Okay. We're going to move to where Delegate Morgan would like us to go, and that is HB 913. Our next, okay, I don't have that to pop it up because there aren't any amendments on it. So that is not up on my screen. But that bill, that's Delegate Fraser Hidalgo's bill. Patrick, you want to walk us through what that one does?
Sure, this is a similar bill. It has registration surcharges of $100 for plug-in electric drive vehicles or fuel cell vehicles. That's all of them. Instead of being bifurcated like the previous bill, that's zero emission electric vehicles, that's hybrid vehicles, that's non-plug-in hybrid vehicles. Or actually, no, it's just plug-ins, excuse me. And then the fuel cell electric vehicles, of which there are hardly any, if any. And then $75 for every other motor vehicle subject to registration under the title. And then that's also adjusted for inflation annually.
Any thoughts, comments on that one? Delegate Morgan.
Oh, sure, might as well add it up. So, I think everybody was testimony on Friday afternoon and heard what they had to say. So I decided on Saturday, because I have nothing else to do, I go to the car dealerships and ask them in Southern Maryland, how bad is it? And they told me, Todd, we're barely selling electrical vehicles because of for whatever the reasons are, they're not selling them. The gas vehicles are selling really well, and they're scared to death that if the bills go through the way they're projecting, the franchise is going to go out of business. Now, that's their words, not mine. So when the testimony was given, it was curious when what they said is that, and I had my notes here, there's approximately 95,000 electrical vehicles in Maryland right now, which constitute 2% of the automobile population of 4.5 million vehicles. So I did my math real fast and said if there's 95,000 vehicles, $100, the electrical vehicle folks in the bill will pay $950,000. However, the people who have the gas-fired vehicles get paid $75, and they it's $330,375,000, not to mention the gas tax that goes on top of that. So and then when I look at the Eastern Shore with the number of stations they have, and recognize I live in rural Maryland. I shouldn't say rural; it's becoming semi-rural anymore. But we have 12 charging stations in St. Mary's County. I saw the number of charging stations on the Eastern Shore. I've listened to my cohorts in Allegheny, Garrett, Washington, all the Western counties, etc. And I'm going, the math just doesn't work. And I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know if we want to have an honest, ugly conversation or what it is, but I don't know how you get there. I was a business guy. I ran a defense company. I did really well, blah, blah, blah. But you have to make changes in circumstances and adjust to where we are. But if we just keep going down a straight path, well, there's blinders on. I don't know how you get there. And if somebody can teach me and make me smarter, hey, I'm all open. But I don't know how you get there with the grid power, with wind power, wind solar. I saw the thing Tim Coble put out today. We have to go against the governor. He wants to build business. Oh, we have to have greenhouse gases. We want to do high power forms for computing in the same areas county before. The cost of electricity is too much. That's why everything is in the Midwest towards where TVA is, because you have hydroelectric power. It's cheap power to run data centers. You want to do it in Maryland? Fine. But where's the power? Just
Okay,
help.
so
I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I fell off the truck last Thursday, okay?
well, thank you. Back on the bill. So are you saying that you think a charge on both internal combustion engine folks as well as EV folks is how we have to get there?
I think that the amount of money that you pay in the Transportation Trust Fund alone is one hell of a lot of money. You would add, and then when the bill says 100 for one and 75 for the other, I mean, that's just doubling down on something that I can't get to. Somehow on the way, there has to be a better conversation of reality based upon the state's fiscal situation, where it's going, the Transportation Trust Fund, and we want to be green. I get you want to be green. I get that part. I have a Suburban and a Lexus, so I'm on the opposite side of you, Madam Chair.
Right.
Got that part.
I think the challenge that we have is we all want roads that we can drive on that don't have potholes in them. We all want bridges that don't fall down. We all want the port. We all want the airports. So we have a challenge because we don't have enough money to keep up with all of the things that we want, let alone the projects that people want in their own districts. I mean, we talk about Southern Maryland rapid transit. Like, we can't do that.
Okay, let's go backwards. When we define that, I'm sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. When we discuss rapid transit in Southern Maryland, it's taking something from Branch Avenue to the center of Waldorf. It does nothing to do with the rural lower counties of Maryland. And there's a huge discrepancy in Charles County between those that live north of Waldorf and those that live south of Waldorf. So
got it. Thank you.
I'm not trying to be critical or mean. No,
I understand, but we have a challenge that we're really working on fixing.
It's a huge challenge.
Okay, I'm going to move to Delegate Jacobs. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. And listen, just so we get this straight, what this bill does is the fossil fuel vehicle surcharge goes into the Transportation Trust Fund, and the electrical surcharge goes into a fund that may only be used to fund the purchase of additional EVs. Is that correct?
Correct.
So
yes.
So the $75, I mean the $100 fee for EVs is not going into the Transportation Trust Fund. It's going into a fund to subsidize the purchase of EVs in the state of Maryland.
That is a good point. And yes, state vehicle.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just so our audience knows, it is likely, given that it is 7:44, we're not going to get to any of our substantive bills. So all of those are going to be pushed to tomorrow. And we are definitely going to be meeting on Wednesday, if not also on Thursday. So Delegate Healy.
Just, I think I need to add in, since everybody is confessing as to what kind of vehicles they own. My family, we have a gas-powered vehicle and a plug-in hybrid. We upgraded from a regular hybrid to a plug-in hybrid recently. So we're all in the same boat and we're all trying to row in the same direction.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Healy. Okay, we have 5 more minutes. So why don't we turn to our last revenue bill that wasn't on your agenda, but we do need to talk about. And that is HB 1215. And I am very sad, I will tell you, but these are important conversations, but we'll take up all of the other ones tomorrow. So 1215, Patrick, you want to tell us what this one is?
Sure. This bill, it imposes a retail delivery fee on specified retail deliveries in the state by vendors and marketplace facilitators, certain ones, and a transportation network company impact fee on passenger trips that originate in the state, and the revenues of which are pledged to the repayment of principal or interest on consolidated transportation bonds.
Right, so this is the one where we had the conversation about, you know, who is actually using these delivery services and the wear and tear as a result of the delivery services. Anybody have any questions on this one? Okay, great. Delegate Morgan.
Do you
What's
want to
that,
get reelected?
Wait, hang on one sec. Patrick, you were
I
saying
was just
something?
saying Delegate Morgan had his hand up.
Yes, thank you, Delegate Morgan.
My sarcasm is reelection campaigns will come and there'll be votes.
Okay,
I'm not upset about what he's trying to do. I understand it. As I said, I believe a conversation has to take place about this. It's serious and, you know, non-attributional, but this is big shit, man.
it is. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to have a conversation here about these things because these are really important things. Delegate Guyton.
Thanks so much. I won't use the same language, but I will say it would be sort of helpful for us, I think, to have a list of all of the fee bills and increase bills all in one place so that we can look at how we can plan to consolidate those. You know, and I think I would even include some that might be in other subcommittees. So we would look at the ultimate amount of money that we're putting forward this session. And like this, the bill we just discussed and the bill we discussed before that one, they definitely seem to overlap. So it's very difficult if we're looking at them one by one, but we look at them all together in one place on one sheet. I think it would just be helpful to understand how it all plays together.
Sure. I mean, that in part was the point of the discussion tonight. I mean, we have these 4 in our sub. And the one that we talked about last week. So trying to bring them all in together so we can see the range of bills that are in front of us and talk about them. Unfortunately, we have been a little jammed for time both nights. So I think plan for a longer meeting on Wednesday. Tomorrow, we're going to be jammed up as well. But let's plan for a longer meeting on Wednesday because folks, we got a lot we got to get through. And unfortunately,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would it be possible for us to get maybe a spreadsheet or something so we can look at it all in one place? Yeah, I think that I understand it's all in one place in the committee, but it's not all in one place in front of us. Just saying this bill, this, and I don't know. It's just an idea. If not, I'll make one myself. But if there's somebody who has it all in one place, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I don't think there is, and I cannot ask Patrick or Gretchen to do that because they are both drowning. So if somebody else has staff that's got the time, great, would love it. Thanks. Okay, folks, the substantive bills we did not get to, we will get to tomorrow. So stay tuned, we'll send you out a revised list. So tomorrow we are meeting right after land use. Land use is going at 1. And so we will go right after them. Likely 2, Delegate Stewart, do you think?
Yeah, I think probably an hour would be on the upper end of our range. I think we could easily be done in 45 minutes. I will note though that we'll probably try to go just as quickly after the floor as possible. So it may not be literally at 1.
Okay, okay, so aim for 2-ish, and then Thursday, I think we need to set aside 2 hours. I'm sorry, Wednesday, we need to set aside 2 hours because we got a lot that we've got to puzzle through. So thanks, everyone. Appreciate you. See you on the floor.